Oh boy, it's been a while. I have been rather busy and distracted by real life, but I did want to at least touch on the newest pages from home since I see Keith did a multi-upload recently. Not sure if that means he'll be taking a break in the future, but at least this means that we don't have to wait another month to go over the topic in question, the appearance of the Forngryms. Before I get into the main topic of this video, I would like to give credit where credit is due. A credit page has been put into the Wikipedia site for Home, listing the designs that Keek has used, owned by other people. I've heard that Stas pushed for this page to be presented, so I would like to say thank you for doing this. If you can learn to do this with the Google images that you use for drawing poses, that would be great. But this is a step in the right direction and I'm glad to see it. This is me being sincere. And with that said, let's move on with the show. While I don't want this to be a technical video, let's go over the big cats that we've seen in the comic. The first one that we've seen in Asmunder was Zahira, a Ziokwa, which would be a jaguar. Then we have the prairie cats. These were also seen in Asmunder and chased Rovanian and Jala when they stumbled upon their carcass when feeding. Notice that these cats have elongated fangs, but they aren't as big as what would be found in saber cats. We saw Fief, which was the introduction of the Taga lions. The only difference between them and the Zyqua is the size difference if memory serves correctly. And now we have Forngryms, which are saber cats. Now, speaking from an evolutionary perspective, this sequence of how the cats were introduced in the comic doesn't make much sense. Saber cats were around longer than any other big cats. The Macrodontini, which you would call the family of saber cats, appeared in the Miocene to the Pleistocene area, living from 16 million to 11,000 years ago. The earliest known cats that would be a close relative to the prairie cat I'm going to call the Planthera biothae, and it existed during the late Mesocenian to early Zanclean era and lived from 5.96 to 4.1 million years ago. As you can see, there is a small window where these two species cross paths, and likely they competed with the same species towards the end of their existence. Since there are no saber cats left in the world, I'll let you guess which one of these species outperformed the other. That being said, for continuity's sakes, the Forngryms should have been in theory the first cats on Earth that the dogs ran into conjunction with the prairie cats. Species like the Zyqua and Taga lion would have made much more sense to be found on Adria for evolution's sakes. Regardless as to the chronological order that doesn't make sense, let's ignore that plot hole and instead address the Forngrym in depth on Adria and see why once again Keek fails at trying to preserve his continuity and see the errors in his writing. If you believe that the Forngryms are native to Adria, they wouldn't be a rare species, and the dogs would have at least heard of them if they committed a mass genocide against them. Also, this ties into what I said about Ninma regarding just how dangerous a place Adria is and not having the common decency to warn the dogs to watch out for the Forngryms. So there are the plot holes regarding that. Also, I should note that all the prey fauna have some type of bioluminescence, yet all of the predators that we see don't. How is that possible if they grew up in the same planet as the ghouls? If you want to go with the assumption that these cats were dropped off around the same time as the first dogs were introduced to Adria, here are the plot holes regarding that scenario. How and why have the dogs not encountered such a different species before? These Forngryms cannot be mistaken for Taga lion. They are fucking huge compared to the other species Keek has put onto Adria. Secondly, if the Forngryms have been on the island that long, then why haven't they spread across Adria? They are in the far north. You have to be specifically designed to survive the cold climate year-round. Next, we need to go over why the cats are alive regardless as to when they came to Adria. Just about all the cats seen, minus the chieftain, are half or totally blind and appear emaciated when we look at them. This has mostly occurred because the Forngryms seem to be in an area devoid of prey fauna. Now, the glaring issue with this scenario is that predators will do something if these sequence of events are happening long term. They fucking move. This isn't rocket science. You can see all this the time with the Discovery Channel documentaries on lions or hyenas. They follow the prey. They move during the dry seasons until their prey comes back. It's completely dumb for these cats to still be here. Clearly there is a pecking order since the chieftain is the only one that looks healthy. So why haven't the subordinates left? Prides split up and reform all the time, so why not this tribe? Keek, buddy, you have one job. Think, motherfucker. Think. One last plot hole that I wanted to cover is when the chieftain mentioned the extinction of bears. Now, we've only seen one bear in this comic. That was when Cargo attacked the 3-footed bear after he and Romer broke up. In all honesty, we haven't seen any predator species in the comic besides Rogio. Yeah, that's right, I said it. Shots fired. Anyway, my point is that Keek has barely shown any other predator fauna outside the cats and dogs. This depends on if the bears were brought here from Earth or are native. The same issues that I described with the Forngryms can be applied to the bears. This isn't so much an overhunting issue as so much as Keek is trying to patch a hole with a band-aid in a sinking ship. Yes, predator species kill each other over prey and territory, but the chieftain specifically said that the bears were hunted. How? Why, and for what purpose? It should have been addressed sooner, and something within the comic should have been shown if that was the case. If I'm completely honest with you, these pages with the Forngryms seem to be Keek talking to his critics. He's done it before. Hell, the conversation with Cargo and Rogio were a bit of an Arthur exposition, and I didn't fall for it. Rogio is still a douchebag, and nothing will change my mind regarding that. So now that I've addressed the issues with the Forngrym, let's go back to this plot with Rogio and Cargo. If you watch my Death and Resurrection of Cargo video, I mentioned that it didn't make much continuity sense to bring Cargo back if you've caught up with the comic. My statement was warranted the way we see Cargo at the current time. None of his wounds have been properly treated. Not even God Mold healing bark is available to close up the deep cut on Cargo's neck, cheek, or ribs. He should have bled out by now. Instead, he and Rogio comically look like they are crucified on a cross. Now, I'm not sure if this was done on purpose since Keek truly believes that Rogio is a saint in the comic, but the Christian allegory here overshadows what type of person he truly is. I mean, the way that Rogio is looking at the Forngrym cub, he's already plotting to use that cub to break free. I'm going to make a drinking game out of what I think is going to happen, since this comic seems to be a recycled plot used when Jala was captured by Ravencrest. Several things that can happen which will lead to Rogio and Cargo being set free. The cub, despite starving, will not want to eat Rogio and free him and Cargo. Rogio will convince the cub to free him. Rogio will do puppy eyes and the cub will feel sorry for him and release him. Rogio will somehow find strength in the 4 days despite not being fed or having water and escape with Cargo. Cargo will go Super Saiyan and suddenly have the strength to fight, forgetting that he's bleeding to death. The chief will be away of the pride within the 4 days and the cub will free Rogio and Cargo. Romer will suddenly find Rogio and Cargo. I'm taking a shot if any of these things happen. There is some Smirnoff with my name on it. Since Keek likes to rehash plot points, don't be surprised if one of these 7 things happen. There is nothing surprising about these characters or the plot. Considering that this chieftain was not even listed as a main character, expect this to be the only time that you will see this pride of Forngryms. That being said, Why the hell is the chieftain waiting 4 days to kill these dogs if they're starving? You know, I don't think that Rogio or Cargo are going to be fed or giving water. Ignoring the hygienic issues, the only causes the dogs to lose fat, which is counterproductive. Also, what the fuck is with the obvious plot armor? It's obvious since Keek is skipping around during the death scene that Rogio and Cargo are going to live. Though I'm not going to lie, it would be nice to see that fucker Rogio die finally, as he should have in chapter 6 in the story. He's lived too long and I've done a fuck ton of damage. Yes, I have a topic that I want to do for him, but it would be nice when the comic ends so I can tally up what I'm referring to this moron as to being a saint is laughable in this comic. And then we have the Swiss cheese that is Cargo, alive, but he should be cursing Cargo having brought him back to life for this shit. He's been reduced to being a damsel in distress. You can see a clear and deliberate assassination of his character's personalities the more time that he is forced to spend with Rogio. Look at how he talks to Saint Rogio. Quote, "It would be a punch long overdue. And then I woke up to your pretty face. What makes you so certain that I would receive such a warm welcome when I have brought so much pain and suffering to his life? I can't believe you dragged me back from the dead for this shit. I've been robbed of an honorable death once. I will not have it happen again." Do any of these statements sound like Cargo? Hell no. This is a complete emasculation, a complete assassination, the complete and utter destruction of a beloved character at the beginning of the series. I was actually afraid that this was going to happen, and unfortunately, Cargo has been put in a position where he owes his life to Rogio now. They are speaking to each other like lovers rather than simple friends like before. I don't like it, and if they sleep together, I'm going to fucking scream bloody murder. I have a little bit more to say about the personality shift with Cargo, but I'm actually going to save it for another topic in the future. Until then, stay safe, eat some fish to recover brain cells lost when you critically think about this topic, and I'll see you all soon. Asher out.